Have you ever wanted to write an autobiography, a biography, or a memoir? And if you don't know what they are, I will explain the differences. Basically, all of them are life stories. So, an autobiography is a life, you're writing about your own life. You could also be ghostwriting about somebody else's life, but you're doing it's going to read as if it's from them, though. The autobiography is the whole pie. So that's the whole life story. Of course, it ain't every single thing that ever happened, but it started at childhood and generally going up until present day, or at least until the person passed. A biography is going to be a story that you write about somebody else, but you ain't ghostwriting, but you're writing about somebody else's life. So if I wrote a book right now about like Harriet Tubman's life, for example, that would be a biography, because that means you want to write something you think the world needs to know about this person or know more about this person. That's why we have so many different biographies on people who are like really, really instrumental to our history. And then you also have memoirs. And so if an autobiography is the whole pie, a memoir is a slice of the pie. So a memoir might be about like your career. You might be talking about parenting. You might be talking about your 20s or your 50s. You might be talking about your health journey. So a memoir is a slice of the pie. But these particular 5 points I'm gonna share is like what you want to make sure you include in your outline when you're writing a life story. It's really helpful because a lot of times I know people want to write a book, but they like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to include in this thing. And so this should help you out with that. So one of the first things you want to talk about is the scene or the story that came to you when you decided that you wanted to write a book. So obviously there was something that came to mind. You were like, I should write a book. What was that scene? What was that story? Start right there. That's a really, really, really good one. I ain't gonna say an easy one, but that's a good one. You can go as elaborate as you want to with it and your memories of it. Number two, you want to also consider what some of your earliest memories are. And this is like specific, well, it can work for a memoir too. So say you're talking about your career, for example. So I'm a writer. So one of my earliest memories of being a writer was like at the book fair when I would save up my lunch money and I would go to the book fair, and I remember buying my first diary with the key, and that's when I was like, oh my God, like I'm about to tell it all. Cause I can lock it up, can't nobody read it either. So that's one of my first memories, one of my earliest memories as a writer. If you were doing an autobiography or a biography, for example, you'll want to say like one of your earliest memories in life, period. So I remember some of mine might be like, I was living with my grandmother while my mother was away at the Gulf War, and when she came back home, I had to ride the airplane with myself. So my grandmama took me to the airport, and I was getting on the plane. But before even the plane came, like I ran away from them. They didn't even. I snuck away rather, went back to the car and hid out. The airport ain't nothing like they are now. We ain't had no TSA and all that stuff then. So that's one of my earliest memories. And that would actually be a really good life story because I have a pattern of running away, sneaking away. So yeah, you want to think about your earliest memories. Something else you want to think about is people who like the major role players in your life. So who made a significant difference in your life, and think about the significant stories. Because remember, you don't have to, we don't care about everything. So that includes what and who made you who you are and what happened. So, of course, if you have a spouse, it's going to include your spouse, baby daddies and baby mamas. It's going to include that. My children will most definitely be included. If I'm talking about going back over to the memoir side, if I'm talking about maybe my career, then I'm going to talk about, for me, I'm going to talk about my supervisor at Savannah State University who brought me on. I started off as a student of hers, and then she was like, hey, would you like to come work for us after I graduated? And I was like, yeah. That made a significant difference in where, because before that I was working as a 911 dispatcher. So that was a significant pivot in my career to becoming a writer full time. You also want to think about situations that either almost broke you or did break you. I know a lot of people be like, if you survived it, it didn't break you. I disagree with that. That's where the term nervous breakdown come from. Sometimes we actually break the F word down. But we bounce back, right? Because we are resilient after all. And so that's some of the stories that we really come to the book for. We want to read about and learn about people who overcame something, right? So you have to get a little bit transparent. You have to open yourself up and share some of those stories. What were your feelings through those stories and all of those things? What actually happened? How did you survive it? Like, what did you do? What was your support system? What were your addictions? Your distractions through that? And what was your aha moments? Like, what did you ultimately conclude about yourself, about life, about people, etc. Like those are some really, really helpful ones too for memoirs and autobiographies and biographies. And then on the flip side of that, which is the last tip, you want to think about your proudest moments. Like what are those things that made you proud of yourself? And again, that goes for the autobiography, biography, and the memoir. So if I think about my memoir, and just going back to the example of just career, earning best local author in Savannah was a proud moment for me. Getting an internship at the Library of Congress was a proud moment for me. Getting my first and then my second and then my third celebrity client, those were proud moments for me. So think about that. And then even in the autobiography, having my daughter and my son, like those are really, really proud moments for me. Buying a first home, although I ultimately was like, I don't know how I feel about home ownership. Don't know if that worked for my personality. But having made that accomplishment was a really, really proud moment for me. So this should help you out a lot. And a last final tip when you're writing any book at all, really, is that although we read books from beginning to end, you don't necessarily have to write it that way. So just write the stories as you have them. Let it sit for a while. Then go back. This is called the rewrite. And now you read through it again. You have a fresh pair of eyes because you let some distance in between when you wrote it. And go back and fix them. So you might notice some holes in the plot. You go back and fix those up. You might notice something else, some information need to be added for it to flow better. And then once you got it to the best that you could do, now you pass it on to your editor, who will make sure it's in tip-top shape before the reader even gets it. So I hope this helped you a lot. And if there's any other videos that you would like for me to do, any other topics related to books, just let me know. Peace.